We're live. Yay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Changebook podcast of 2025. And if you feel like I do, we've got some exciting things happening at the Changebook. A lot of stuff going on with our gyms that they're putting together for us. So, one of the things I want to bring up is that we are an international podcast and we have an international guest today. It's 4 a.m. where she's at, and I'm just so grateful that she's here. And I want to introduce to you Tina Kapp, and I hope I say this right, Kailea?
Yep, that's right.
Yay! I didn't get a chance to practice it. So welcome, Tina. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. And it's bright and early, it's summer, and I'm coming from the future, so it's already Tuesday here. How's that?
That's weird to me. That's weird to me. But I know with that big time gap. And one of the things I've been reading your bio, which of course is very, very fascinating, and it says you are award-winning embodiment coach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I am. Embodiment for me means that you're showing up all the way you are. You are a whole lot of woman, and I know that's frowned upon, but embodying your power comes from within. And when you show up in the world, in your life, and in your business in particular, then you can do lots of things. You have a confidence and a conviction that transpires through the camera, through this on the stage, in your writing. And I help women to embrace all of that so they can be playing a bigger game.
Ooh, that's exciting. And are we conditioned from the time we're born maybe to adhere to societal norms, if you will? Why haven't we always embraced ourselves and our power? What do you think has held us back?
There's definitely conditioning, and I could go on for hours, which is why I've written another book just about that part. The conditioning that we have comes from the society, and obviously we're living in a digital age. And I'm glad at now being 50 that I have gone through my younger, more transformative years without social media, dare I say it. So if you look at women today, they have a whole lot more of that. And it comes around to me again, it was with menopause, with middle age. I'm supposed to be a certain way, take a back seat and all of that. But more importantly, we're conditioned from childhood. So our years from probably 1 to 7 is when we have most of our, I guess, life canvas handed to us. There's expectations from, depending on where we grow up, there's things our parents say to us. And that forms something inside of us where we may be playing a little bit small. And I'm 9 times out of 10, most of what women hold deeply inside is that feeling of never being good enough. Not pretty enough, not young enough, not thin enough. And we act from that little girl's mindset rather than the grown woman than we are. And for me, I took my little girl into the boardroom, even as an established businesswoman in my late 40s even. And I realized I was not showing up truly who I was. And I felt like I had to put on a mask. And that conditioning feels like a really heavy weight on your shoulders. And when you marry your true self with how you show up, it doesn't feel like working. It doesn't feel like you have to, pretend to go on a podcast. This is who I am. This is all of me. And I want every woman to really live and breathe that.
I absolutely love that explanation because as I reflect back on my life, we're talking about middle age here and there's a lot of reflecting to do. But there were so many me's at different times based on where I was working, who my friends were, that I felt the need to fit in. And I, like you now, am like, well, you know what? Why can't I just be unapologetically me, like you say?
That is true. And actually, I changed the title on my business card from CEO and founder of the Fempreneur to Unapologetic Wild Woman and Possibility Agent. Because by having that conviction, it's a conversation starter. But that word unapologetic and wild, that has people coming in. I think that wild nature means just like literally do not really caring too much what other people think of us. Because if I am truly happy with who I am, and I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it's a vibe. And I think for in the audience, everybody has met that woman or that person who, enters a room, and out of the sudden there's an energy. She exudes power and confidence. And it's not something you can layer on with the fancy dress or the makeup. It is what comes from within. And every woman has that. And I'm passionate about bringing that out in everybody.
Oh, I love that. And I had to, when I got a divorce, which has been a while now, I really had to go on a journey to find me and learn to love me. And it's not as easy as it sounds. How would you give a woman advice to uncondition herself from all the things society wants, or the friends she hang around with, what they want, what your husband or ex-husband wanted? That's a chore, isn't it?
It is. And trying to be unapologetic and being yourself is first and foremost a choice, because there's decades of layering in our case. And it is first and foremost having compassion for yourself. Make peace with all those versions that have come and been, and make peace with the fact that it's very easy to become trapped in, I wish I've done this in my 20s. And that regret part as we come through. Just take a line in the sand and just be for a minute, because we're so busy all the time, which is what my story is about, burning out along this chasing a bigger, better version of myself, but not doing it from a point of alignment, which is my second favorite word. You're going to have to give yourself compassion. And loving on yourself is not an easy one either. It takes more than writing, I love myself, and writing it on the mirror or an affirmation. It is the inner work. And I keep calling it diving into the unseen, into your own shadow. Those parts we're not that proud of and we're trying to hide. And be prepared for a journey. You're stepping out of a box and you're stepping onto a spiral. And it doesn't really finish.
Wow, that's an amazing way to say it, because, everything that we have stored in us that we've kind of pushed down to become that next version of ourselves that someone needs us to be, we learn not to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think pulling that up, looking at yourself in a mirror, and you talk about the shadow work, and just accepting every version of yourself that you've ever been, because it made you the woman you are today. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. And then really reclaiming those parts that fell by the wayside, because if you think of what were you really passionate about when you were a little girl, I bet you everybody has lost themselves in a hobby. And then before you know it, 6 hours had passed, because we had this freedom when we were younger. But those little hints that we had actually are our purpose, and a hint on what is really something you enjoy, and you're going into your feminine flow. This is another big thing. I work a lot with the energetics of understanding feminine and masculine energy, not from a gender point of view, for those who may be new to those terms, but understanding how you act, because a masculine is very structured. It's doing, it's being busy all the time, and we do need that in our lives. But if you look at especially motherhood, which is not a feminine energy, despite being a nurturing role, but we look after everybody else. We do so many things for other people, but are we really having a boundary for being selfish, being full of ourselves, and stop doing things? Because it often has that connotation of being lazy, and you should be, it's part of your role, and that's the conditioning again. We've had this model to us. There is nothing wrong with you saying, I'm having me time, and taking off that surface level and going, you know what, I'm just going to sit in my garden and stare into the sky and the shapes of the clouds for an hour, doing nothing. That has all sorts of things coming up in our heads. And it could be, I don't know, taking a walk in the park, or turning your phone off for an hour. That's not selfish. That is looking after yourself first. You're filling your cup.
Yes.
And it takes courage. And this is a good starting point. Making time for yourself, being unapologetic. Stop the people pleasing, which is, I guess, another thing that's big for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things you talk about is how demanding the corporate world is. How did you fit this new version of you into the corporate world?
I have gone back in a completely different reincarnation of myself, because I can see so many women, especially corporate America, which is in publishing and media where I've worked for many years, and I traveled on top of it. So I came from New Zealand to the States and doing business and working in that environment. And then here is the same. We show up trying to be a man in a man's world. And the old feminism has done a lot for us, paved a lot of roads, but we literally try to keep up with all the men in those positions, and we've lost our femininity along the way. And yes, you can wear a power suit and you can show up a certain way, but are we really allowing ourselves to be us? And sadly, I've seen a lot of women in corporate falling into this comparisonitis trap. It's not working girl Mannerly Griffin's in the 80s. We've moved on from that. But because we're so used to seeing that and thinking that we have to be harder, toughen up, the air gets thinner when we get to the top. Where do these stories come from? Have they been handed to us, or can we actually be compassionate? We women, we're supposed to nurture. We're supposed to connect with each other. We have emotions. We're cyclical. So if we show up really bringing this into our work, are we also connecting with other women in that way? Because we can do big things, but together we can move mountains. Collaboration is the new domination. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Collaboration is a new I love that. I've never heard that. That is amazing. And how do we, everything you're talking about just makes so much sense to me, having worked in corporate, a young person in real estate and then in lending back when it was a man's world, and putting up, with the flack in the mouth and the garbage. And how do we teach men who have been conditioned that, sometimes we stand a little under them? How do we teach men that we are a source to be dealt with?
It's a very fine line of embodying all your femininity without falling into those, being seen as, the short skirt, like the people pleasing, the wanting to be, hey, look at me. It's coming back to grounding yourself in your power. And it takes courage to look at yourself. I work with the voice a lot, and having this, not shrill, but it comes from within. It comes with a certain amount of power. I'm a martial artist as well, so I actually work in self-defense in that realm, and that goes into a slightly different world. However, having a voice that comes from within, like, shoulders back, having presence, that's a good starting point, because that immediately exudes a boundary where you go, okay, they see me, I'm at their level, but I don't have to manipulate. I don't have to people please. I know my worth. And it's the other big part that we, I guess, have lost, or looking outside of ourselves for our worth. I'm worthy. Abundance is my birthright. And if I show up from a point of, I don't need to prove myself, I know I'm worthy. And that comes with not ticking off all the boxes and having all the degrees. It's knowing your worth from the inside. And you can practice this in your family as well, saying no. No is a complete sentence. And saying it with conviction rather than, could you please do that? So the way you actually word, the way you communicate is a big part in corporate, because you cannot be too blunt, because it is part of your role. We have a lot of senior people who are male, but really explaining to them, so look, I've got this, and you can ask for help as well. I think men are conditioned just as much, and I see it in my embodiment work outside of that sort of corporate realm. When I do corporate training and work with women who've been in this work for so long, they are actually happy to, sometimes allow women in, because we bring a completely different flavor to the boardroom table because of that nurturing element of, especially around conflict and how we handle it. So open discussion and coming at it from equality, rather than, hey, I'm asking somebody that's a senior or superior for advice. Because mansplaining is a thing, and I've dealt with that a lot in my younger years in the corporate world. Not so much anymore as you get to a certain age, but that comes with a whole other set of expectations and how the world views us. So just own your power and call it back to yourself. Be present in your body and start practicing, walk around like the queen you are.
Strut your stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Be full of yourself, because that means that you're embracing your feminine. Where's the rule that you can't wear a pink jacket like I do? It's still a corporate jacket, but it's bright pink. And that's
yes,
my
and you
personality.
cannot be missed with that jacket. That was my first thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that for my next photo sessions because I need some new
Yeah.
ones. And I've always been black or white. I've always been. Maybe it's like conditioning that I don't even know about to blend in.
Oh yes, and corporate. I mean, you come from lending, you said. I mean, in the bank, it's beige, it's navy, it's grey, it's black. No, be bright. Buy the pink green jacket. Embrace your color. You still look snazzy, but you've got. Out of a sudden, people see you differently. You cannot be missed, like you said. Make a point of being center of attention. It doesn't make you, I guess, arrogant or wanting to get attention from a point of look at me jumping up here. No, you just walk in with that red jacket, imagine, and just be you. Wear the earrings, wear the bright nail color, wear the heels with the bright color to match the jacket,
Or your
because,
lipstick, even your lipstick is bright.
no,
I
so
love
don't
it.
do all of that. You feminine, and there's nothing wrong with embracing. It doesn't mean you're seeking attention, or in some cases attracting the wrong attention, because if you own your no, which comes back to a self-defense and safety thing, if you own your no, and I can say no, that people can hear that sound wave 3 meters and go, oh, but that's something that I had to hone. I used to be very shy. I used to be wanting to blend into the background. I was the last person in that boardroom when I was younger to put up my hand to go, I've got something to say. I have an idea. I was waiting for all the men to finish first. And how many times have we run up to the end of a meeting and everyone else wants to say something and you go, oh yeah, I've got something. And then all of a sudden the time's up and you didn't get
Right.
the chance.
No, you missed it.
And then comes the guilt and the shame to go, oh, I wish, and we berate ourselves for not being that person we want to be. And there's a disconnect, and it can burn us out. It burnt me out.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in male-dominated industry, roading, traffic, media, and I tried to be one of the boys. And I've lost myself to the point where my body was starting to shut down. Stress and burnout is one of the biggest killers for women, even more so than men, because we're wired differently from a biological point of view. And it's okay. We are women. We're not the same people every day. We are cyclical beings. So we're going up and down. And it doesn't mean it ruins someone's empire when you show up like that and work and honoring some of that, but it can change your own energetic understanding of yourself, and you live a more fulfilled life by coming back to what I call your true essence.
Oh, and I think that's so important. And one thing that you said that I want you to expound on a little bit is no is a complete sentence. How do you, and that took me a long time to understand that. I was that one, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. And then then all of a sudden, every single day there's an ask, there's an ask, there's an ask. And how did you come to terms with that and understanding that there's a no and a period after it?
I guess it just come to the point where I felt like I couldn't say no to the project. And could you stay late? Could you get the flowers for the leaving function at work? Like all those different things, I didn't realize it was coming from, if I say no, then I might face ramification. I may be seen as being disruptive. I may lose my job. There's a story string that can often get set into motion that comes back to that little girl. If I'm not pleasing my father or my community or act a certain way, then I'm not fitting in. And the belonging part can be a part of that. You need to try your no on more often, and you need to start small. I mean, even just from a point of view of holding ground when you walk, who is the first on the footpath to give way to someone coming your way? You can look them straight in the eye. Who's looking into the other direction? And yes, it's not confrontational. It's just a place of smiling, owning your part, and really allowing the other person to feel your presence. And when you have that no in your head and you can express that, to go, hey, look, I really appreciate that, but I cannot, and just leave it. Because often we try and then explain our no, which leaves, and I call it the opposition, the other person, the other, it leaves them open to pick on your defense, so to speak. So if you say no, people go, oh, and you don't have to go into a 10-minute spiel as to why you can't, because your child is sick and you have to pick up the groceries and your husband is late. No, if that's coming from within, start practicing it. Saying no at home. Do you really want to go? If you get that text message that, hey, we're having drinks with the girls Tuesday night, and you go, oh, you know what? Anything but not that. But I should go because I haven't caught up with them for too long. Listen to your own energy. That is the thing. And you have to be still with yourself. One of the biggest things that I started was actually journaling, because you can't hide from your feelings. If you spend some time every morning or every night, I do it twice, to actually feel like, how was my day, and where have I let myself down? Where have I given my power away by saying yes to too many things? I really wanted to lie in the bathtub and read a book, or watch a Netflix show to wind down. I didn't want to go out because it's cold and it's all that thing. But then you went anyway. And then when you come home, you're super drained because you've gone against your energy. And being in alignment, to be embodied, is listening to those intuitive things that live beneath the surface, but you're too busy to listen to them because you're constantly going and doing. So make time for yourself. Carve out the hour for lunch. Don't eat at your desk. Go out to the park. And you will start noticing, oh, look at the sky. Look, there was a rainbow. And look, there's a full moon. Little things pop into your field, or you see your husband sitting next to you. So the eye color, like you actually starting to hone in on some of the things that make you happy, that give you that little burst of, oh, it makes you feel good. And the more you act from that place, the more you can hone that. And get help. I had spent a decade regaining who I am. The woman you see today took a decade, like an archaeologist, to bring back from the fossil, and with all the brushes to dust off everything, to see who she was. Who is she?
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
start the uncovering, and you will be amazed.
Wow, that's some very powerful stuff, and I love, one of the things I've been telling people is silence is a superpower. To just be able to sit. And I tell people, your body, your mind will tell you exactly what you need, but you need quiet. You need to observe how you feel. You need to step in to your inner self. And sitting in silence for me is one of the most enjoyable things I can do. I don't want the TV on. I don't want to talk on the phone. I just want to sit. And I've had some amazing downloads. And it's like people are afraid of silence, especially when you're in a corporate position. We got to keep talking. And sometimes it's like silence is far more powerful than chatter.
Yeah, it's the power of the gap. And it's the same with whether you write or you public speak. You have that phone call. Allow your words to breathe. And that is the words in your own head as much as it is that client conversation, that presentation, that keynote. And this is why writing, I find, is such a powerful thing. And when I finished my solo book and the change book chapter as well, is you got so much clarity because you're trying to convey to the outside world the path that you went on, and then where it put you, and the power in word. They call it spelling for a reason. You're casting a spell to yourself,
your words,
to your audience. They're powerful. And those little words that put us down in our head, that is the first step to really eroding your confidence in your head. If you can, and we can't control the voices in our head, but our subconscious is always going to be much more powerful than what's going on in our brain. And like you said, if you're in silence, there's so much power in it. You don't have to meditate. That was one of the things. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not a meditation kind of person. But it doesn't need to be that. It can be that walk in nature. It can be the 10 minutes where you turn off your phone and you're in the darkness as well, because sensory deprivation in this day and age, especially if you're living in a city, in an urban area, that is not easy to turn off. So finding those places and spaces is a way to let your entire nervous system go, and
Just
really
breathe. Yeah. Just let go. And that breath comes from everything you've been holding in, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I that release feels so incredible, doesn't it?
I know. It's freeing. And the power of your voice paired with your embodying all of who you are, the good, the bad, and making peace with that, that's the best medicine you can give yourself, because it will start showing. When you look at, corporate photos are great, those headshots that go on the company brochure and on the website, we all know them. But I looked at one when I was clearing out my attic the other day, and you go, wow, I look at myself and I do not recognize myself. Yes, I was younger and all the things, but there was something missing. There was like the light was off. The light's gone out.
Ooh.
And I dive in my work really deep into, where's that ember, where's that spark that the woman has buried under decades of, I've worked too hard, I sacrificed too much, I'm too old, it's too late. All those things to go, no, there's a spark. And I'll guide you back to that, and we're going to light it. And then you fan the flames and you will start reclaiming who you are. You will realign and you become more powerful and more vibrant than you have ever been. And whether you are 25 or 55, does not matter. You can light that flame up and then you shine from the inside, which is that presence when the woman walks into her room who empowers that to go, wow, whatever she's got, I'm going to get myself some of that. And that's what I really want women to feel
I
like.
love that. I love that. Well, I know we only have a few more minutes, but would you tell us why you picked the Change book and what your chapter is about and what book you're in?
I'm in volume 22, and
22.
it's got the pink jacket. It's got the pink jacket on the cover. And the Change book is something because I've gone through the change. I've gone through menopause, perimenopause, and it was another stepping stone for me to reevaluate who I was and really sharing my whole story really openly for an audience who may feel like that it's too late to change. So I gone really raw and vulnerable. And I know the two gyms have been in this self-development world for a long, long time. And I like the fact that they were actually male publishers because they walk their talk, and you look at them and go, yeah, that is something that I can be in alignment with. And I end up really intuitively making decisions like that. The minute I've looked into it, I go, yeah, there was something inside me, my intuition, which comes out inside. I go, got to be in this book. And Les Brown obviously is one of the heroes and role models in public speaking and someone I deeply admire. So for me, that was a no-brainer. And then reading the stories of all the other people in that book just makes you feel really humble to go, wow, we are not the only person. Because when we come to digging in that shadow and understanding it's not pretty, we're still hesitant to share it. But by doing that, we give others permission to reevaluate their life. And now look what this person has gone through. What is my excuse, for a better word? And being amongst all these other authors just makes you feel like, we've got this. We can be the leading change, the leading light for other people to go, look, these people all stepped out and look where it got them. Maybe I could too. It allows them to maybe reignite some of those dreams they had. So the Change book for me was an amazing step. And I loved reading the stories of some of the other authors. And even for myself, thought, ooh, they've gone through way more. But it doesn't matter. We each have our own story, our own shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But by reading other people bursting out of that and turning their world around and reclaiming their lives is powerful. So the Change embodies all of that.
It really does. And I like the one thing you said is you empower someone else to share their story. And it's
Yeah.
just like that ripple effect that continues. And I'm able to look back at, finding out my ex cheated, going through a divorce, moving, and I look back at it, and because I am a part of this book and because I've read some of the stories, is that I finally realized it didn't happen to me. It happened for me, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. And then comes in that gratitude, which you never thought you'd find again.
No.
And, I absolutely admire you for sharing this story today. It's beautiful. I love the words you choose. I love that pink jacket too. I might
Thank
have
you
to go
very much.
shopping and find me a pink jacket, my friend.
I'm sure you
Um,
find them. Otherwise, come to New Zealand for shopping.
okay, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for getting up before 4 in the morning and coming on this show. You are an absolute pleasure. You are a wealth of knowledge. And, to be my first guest of 2025, I'm absolutely in such gratitude that you are here and showed up as the authentic you.
Thank you so much. 4 in the morning, authentic is where it's at. And here's to international, because we are global lights. Imagine looking at the world map in the dark and all of a sudden these lights come on, because that's what we do. We share our stories, we connect it. And we're using this medium to do that. And so I'm in New Zealand in the future. You all over in North America. How cool is that?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I love every part. Being part of this change book is amazing because I get to meet people like you. So I just want to say to our audience, this lady's amazing. I have got all her links, and there's even a gift in there, right? I put the link to your gift, and
Thank
go find that. Connect with this wonderful woman. It's just been my pleasure to meet you, talk with you, and have you as my first guest of 2025.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will come into the US next time, and maybe we get to have a coffee together. That's the other beautiful thing. We
I would
connect
love that.
online and then we meet in real life. How cool is that?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. That's my goal, to meet more of the amazing people of the Change Book. So I would love for that to happen, or I would love to come to New Zealand.
Yes, we're not all hobbits down here. We have pink jackets too and powerful women. Thank you
Yay.
so much for having me.
Okay, everyone, go search this woman, find her, and connect with her. She is amazing. Thank you for being here for the first Change Book International podcast of 2025. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.